let's dig into the credibility of log files. Most of the time, when you're dealing with log files in IIS, they're clear text, they're plain text, they're easily addressable. So we want to make sure that our business process behind these logs supports their credibility. Let's first talk about time mechanisms. The IIS logs record using UTC, which helps you with the synchronization of events. So if you just look at this as one component in your forensics investigation, web servers do a pretty good job of keeping time so that you can build your super timelines. Avoiding missing logs. So IIS servers power off, the logs are not created. Well, that's okay, offline or not created, that's fine. But you need to go to the event viewer to say that that service went down at that time to maintain your logging credibility throughout. So service was on, log. Service got shut down. The way I know about that is the log stops. I see a gap in the log. I go back to the event viewer and I say, hey, in the event viewer, can you show me that the IIS service went down? And then I look for the next event, which is the IIS service went up, and then log in the IIS log. So that's how you maintain your timeline for the missing logs. So you can use two different logs to show that there is a continuation there. When your log file is missing, somebody deletes that log or they don't take a copy of it and put it somewhere for your availability, your credibility goes down, and that means that there's unreliable activity that could have occurred. The reason why that's so important is gaps show that there could be some other explanation for the way this occurred on this machine. So if I'm trying to prove that you're guilty and there's this gap here, you can say, well, I wasn't there at that time, you don't have any logs, and it could have been, there's an alternate explanation for the crime because it could have been somebody else that attacked at this point in time. So I need, that string of timeline going from beginning to end and you inserting yourself inside of that. Authenticity. Remember, this is a text file and it's easy to alter. So what we do is for dates and times and stamps, even though all that stuff is easily modifiable, what we want to do is we want to pull them off at regular intervals through our log management system and record that activity, and also show in the event log itself, not an IIS log, but in the event log itself, show that when we cleared the logs and when we restarted the logs, that matches up with our picking up of this data for the logging mechanism and putting it in that other location. When we place it in that other location, the first thing that we do is we MD5 hash that file and then put it on some sort of write once media. That increases our credibility over the long term. Remember, you're working with the copies of the log files, not the original log files. So when it's written to that media, you ask and request a copy of it along with the MD5 hash, and that's when you start processing that data. Don't process on the original. Don't work from the original on this web server, even if it is part of your organization's web server. Say, hey, give me a copy and let's get some authentication going here. As far as access control and credibility is concerned, remember that the investigator or the administrator can use the NTFS permissions in the security log or the application log to validate when people went onto the machine and actually picked up the logs the correct way. We show that in the event logs, those security file and object access. What we want to do is we want to, in the security log, do auditing on the config folder for those logs. You want to show that people actually had action in there and that you recorded that action of them retrieving those logs. That's most of the credibility. We still need to talk about some of the other configurations on the log and some of the best practices in web log management.